Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Expedia Cruises and Holland America special presentation. My name's Tom, and I'm the Business Development Manager for Holland America in Western Canada. And it's a pleasure to be here and to be able to speak with you all about some exciting opportunities to cruise with Holland America and some special opportunities you have working with your Expedia Cruises consultant or Expedia Cruises office. So I'm going to go ahead right now and share my screen as we have lots of good stuff to get through. So give me 2 seconds while I do that. Okay, great. It looks like there we are. I'm up on the screen. Okay, here we go. So behind me is the beautiful Westerdam. We're going to talk about not just her, some of the other dam ships as well as we go through. We're going to talk about Alaska, Europe, some very cool West Coast opportunities as well. Maybe a few other little exclusives as we go through some of the slides here. So first off, here's my high school picture. If you wasn't sure what I look like, that's me. So I'm coming to you actually right now from North Vancouver. So I'm based in Western Canada. A very rainy North Vancouver right now. So first off, I do want to touch on something that's really exciting that certainly has been so well received and really put a spring in all our steps, not only for those cruisers with Holland America, folks who are part of Holland America, but all cruisers out there. And that is that so many of our ships, not just of our fleet, but other cruise lines fleets, have returned to service. So for Holland America, it is as follows. We currently have 6 ships sailing. This is so exciting. I actually just came back from our brand new ship, Rotterdam, and we have 6 ships sailing. This is just fantastic news. Actually, Zuiderdam will be sailing very shortly before the end of the year, so later this month. So within the month of November, 6 of our ships, and then the other 5 will be sailing in spring 2022. So this is fantastic. Our dam fleet has come together at last, and what a journey it's been. So this is very exciting. I'm going to tell you all about it. Before I do want to touch on just a few important things, and that is just to let you know what we're doing, what we have been doing, and some of the procedures and protocols that we've implemented. That is working in lockstep with the CDC, the WHO, the CLIA organization, our sister cruise lines and other cruise lines, to make sure we're all in compliance and working on protocols for a healthy environment for our guests and our crew members as we return to service. We've been very busy, and you can find details of the current protocols. They do change, so do take them with a little grain of salt, because they do change as we make adjustments and update protocols. But you can find this by going to your Expedia Cruises consultant and asking for the latest in the health and safety guidelines. And also it's on our Holland America website. You'll find lots of information on things like what we've been doing with our ventilation on board, how we've upgraded during the pause in operations. We have UV filtration, HEPA filtration. We can replace the air in any given room within 5 minutes. Some incredible upgrades and lots of protocols and procedures. Like I say, it does change as we kind of work through this transitional period. But for the latest information, that's where you'll find it. But like I say, reach out to your Expedia Cruises consultant, and they will share the information with you also. So with that, you may have heard recently the good news that we now are able to welcome guests on board who not have only had a vaccination of either Pfizer or Moderna, or a mix of those two, or AstraZeneca, but also a mix of an AstraZeneca, Pfizer, AstraZeneca, Moderna. We now allow those mixed vaccines. That's new, so that's a great step forward. So if that does now allow you to be cruising in the next few months, you've realized that it is actually very doable and actually quite easy. I certainly found it very easy to fly down to Fort Lauderdale. I just came back from a Caribbean cruise on the Rotterdam. It is, once you start the approach and you plan ahead, it's actually very, very simple. So if that's you and you are thinking of cruising in the next few months, then something you'll be hopefully pleased to hear is that we now have something called a worry-free promise, and that is that if you needed to cancel up to 30 days prior to your sailing, you will receive a future cruise credit. And if you had to cancel just shortly before the cruise or while you're on board, and I'm going to move over to one side so you can see this, then we do also have allowances and additional assistance if there was a positive test scenario as well. But for more information on that, do speak with your Expedia Cruises consultant. And also do download the Navigator app, even if you're not cruising soon. If you're not planning to cruise perhaps for some time, make sure you have an app. We've got so many great things that you can do on there now. Not only getting your ducks in a row for your cruise with your touchless boarding pass and those kind of things, but you can do things like free order takeouts from our New York deli and pizza, or arrange some dining on board, pre-reserve some dining. So it really is kind of not just a handy tool, it is essential. You can do so much with it once you're on board ship. So make sure you download a copy of that, get you in the mood for cruising. So let's talk about Holland America. Just so you know, I always like to share this. I'm a Holland America fan through and through. I've worked for Holland America for many years. On board ship at sea for many years, also on land for many years. It's a cruise line that's close to my heart. In fact, I met my wife on board a Holland America ship. We then named our kids after Holland America ships. Little Zuidendam is 5 and Noordam is 7. That's a lie. We just call them the damn kids. It's got a good ring to it. We take the damn kids on a damn cruise. But in all seriousness, it's just a fabulous cruise line. And I know tonight or today, depending on where you are, what time you're watching this, you may have cruised Holland America many times before. Holland America may be brand new to you, or maybe you've cruised a couple of times in the past. Wherever you're coming from, you're going to kind of get a useful update here. I'm going to let you know what kind of things we're doing on board now, what Holland America's like. In a nutshell, this is Holland America. We're for explorers, foodies, and music lovers. I'll touch on that in a second. We don't have roller coasters. There's a market for those things, but there's also a growing market of folks who have been there, done that, and are looking for more space, more touches of luxury, or perhaps they've only ever cruised on small ships, but they don't want to go big to mega ships. They want something just right. That's really where Holland America comes in. Our ships are perfectly sized. That's really where the experience starts. Our ships, you couldn't even really call them mid-sized, because sometimes there are cruise lines out there that say they're mid-sized, but they might have 1,000 guests more than us. 3,600, 4,000. We don't have that. Our ships average around 2,000 guests. So that's why we're truly mid-size. And there's something special about the Holland America feel, the dark blue hulls, the wraparound teak decks, that nautical feel, the history, things like the Magradome, the roof that can open up and close whatever the weather, and so you can utilize that wonderful space on the Lido pool area without everyone having to scurry down inside when there's inclement weather. There are so many kind of neat features and so many aspects to Holland America ships. It's more than the kind of a sum of the parts. Holland America is a cruise line that's been around for a long time, and we'll touch on that in just a second. So folks are finding Holland America from all areas of the cruise industry, kind of the cruising world. So anniversary couples, sisters reunions, girls getaways, family groups going to Alaska where the aunts, the uncles, the grandparents, the grandkids, everyone's there. The kids on board won't be, as a parent, this is something I love because I can take my kids on board. They won't be one of 1,000, they'll be one of 100. I think in this day and age, that's so nice. But we've got an awesome kids club. Often we'll have folks on board say, I've heard you've got quite a few kids this week. I don't see them. That's because we keep them all upstairs in Club Hal in the kids club. But it is truly a cruise line for everyone, whether it's a large family group or just a one couple cruising, or whatever the kind of the type of cruise that cruiser has come from. They'll certainly find something on Holland America that they weren't expecting or haven't experienced before. So we like to say we are for explorers. There is a reason for this. And it is rooted in our history. We've been doing this for a long time. It will be 150 years next year. the end of next year, we're celebrating 150 years, and those relationships and connections to the ports and places we visit are very tangible and alive and well today. We have built relationships with port authorities, maritime authorities, and we'll often have situations where we have premium berthing in all sorts of parts of the world. We haven't been just doing this for a few decades. We've been doing it for a long time. And we have a depth and a breadth of ports and itineraries that other cruise lines just don't have, because we have a fleet that will service all of these destinations for the North American cruiser, visit all of these areas. So it's not just a case of one ship doing lots of ports on very, very long voyages. Sure, we have long voyages, but also we have multiple ships in various destinations. So there's variety in itinerary. There's an option to sail an itinerary on several dates. So it's the best of both worlds in that respect. And then food. We've always been a cruise line for foodies. Everyone's a foodie to varying degrees, I think. And what Holland America does is give you an option to have the best of both worlds, because we don't have a situation like you'll find on very small ships that are out there, where it's just the dining room and maybe one casual option as a secondary option. And on the other hand, we don't have what you often find out there with those mega ships, which is one dining room where it's the same menu every day, and you have to pay to eat in one of 15 alternate venues. You're kind of forced into that. With Holland, you have that classic dining room experience, which is a different menu every day, rotating fresh menus every day. And you have, if you choose, that handful of specialty options if you'd like to have a night in kind of an exclusive smaller venue with a certain feel, like a Tamarind Pan Asian restaurant, the Rue de Sel de Mer Seafood Brasserie, the Pinnacle Grill, our Pacific Northwest Chop House. So lots of options if you are looking to try something. So the other part to this is the fact that we have a team of world-renowned chefs that make up our culinary council. We don't just have one, how can I say, celebrity chef that we, sign a deal with and put their name on a wall in neon lights and say that's our chef partnership. With us, it goes deeper than that. These seven individuals are Michelin star chefs, proprietors, authors, TV chefs, and each has their own specialist area and discipline, and they each inject their creativity into the menus throughout the ship, and that is reflected throughout the cruise. So something we do a little bit differently. And then we do take the culinary into the port. This is something that came off the back of, let's say, I guess the river cruise peak that we saw about 10, 15 years ago, that when river cruising became a thing, some folks who were cruising ocean went over and tried river cruises, and they did their kind of 2 or 3 river cruises, then came back to an ocean cruise like Holland America, because obviously there's more places you can go with an ocean cruise. And what they expressed to us was how much they enjoyed being able to break bread with the locals, learn about locally sourced ingredients in traditional recipes, hearing the stories, getting hands-on. And that is what we do. And it's not just in Alaska. Sorry, it's not just in Europe. It's even in places like Alaska. And I mention that because obviously with culinary, Europe comes to mind for a lot of folks, or Asia. But even in Alaska, we'll have hands-on tours in Ketchikan where you're able to get involved and see how the kelp is harvested and the produce, how the oyster larvae are cultivated and used, and then do walking tours visiting the top kitchens in Juneau, the top chefs, seeing how those locally sourced ingredients are used again. So this is something you'll find throughout the destinations we cover. And then this is something really cool. We shook the, let's say the cruise world up a little bit about 5 years ago when we created this concept. And pretty much every cruise line out there will be in agreement that we did something that no one else has. This is something that we still see that all the other cruise lines are playing catch up with this, because we decided to move away from the traditional lounge musician, cruise ship musician, setting where it's the same musician lounge hopping, changing their jacket, changing their musical style. Instead, we said, let's create lounges that are purpose built for a professional band, experienced veteran, expert musicians, experts in their crafts to play their style of music in that lounge, and that's what they're there to do solely. They don't go to play anywhere else. And so that's what we did, and keep all these lounges within fairly close proximity. We call it Music Walk. And with that, we have some incredible lounges. BB King's Blues Club. Now, this is a band that have all came on each ship. The BB King's All Stars have come through Beale Street, Memphis, and they are an incredible talent. They've got the crowd on their feet throughout the evening. They're playing everything from Chuck Berry to Bruno Mars, Stevie Wonder to Aretha, you name it. They've got the crowd on their feet across the generations. Then you've got Billboard on board, which is dueling pianos, not just one tight, small, squeezed piano bar like, that's the way it used to be, where you couldn't get a spot. Now it's an open, wonderful open space, twice the fun, twice the sing-alongs, all sorts of musical styles covered. Then Lincoln Center, which is classic and classical fusion, but performed by an ensemble from Lincoln Center, the #1 institution for classical music in North America. I love that venue. What I like about that, I wouldn't say I'm a classical music expert, but for me, to be able to come back on board ship after a day in port, freshen up, grab a cocktail, sit down in Lincoln Center and let their performance just wash over you. It's almost meditative. It's incredible. And then there's another venue, which I'll touch on very shortly, called Rolling Stone Rock Room. That's a new one. And then I must just mention, having just come back on board, come back home from being on board ship for the first time in 18 months, almost 2 years, the one thing that really touched me was seeing our crew back out there doing what they do best. Those genuine smiles, that warmth that wins hearts and minds for our guests, and has done for years and years and years. To see them back doing what they do best, it was incredible. And that's helped us gain a reputation, not just within the cruise or hospitality industry, but even outside of that, as exemplary deliverers of service. So the DAM fleet, I'm not going to run through all of them. They're the DAM ships and the DAM fleet, our gorgeous fleet. Big news is the new ship that I was just on, the Rotterdam. She is here. She is the third of our Pinnacle class ships, sister to New Statendam and Koningsdam. She's not a mega ship. She's only slightly larger than the last, or these ships are only slightly larger than the previous class, only 15,000 tons larger, 500 extra guests. And they are true Holland America ships through and through. Classic Holland America style, absolutely gorgeous ships. And last week when I came back on board, having sailed on her sisters to see Rotterdam, it was the same experience all over again. Absolutely jaw-dropping, spacious. We have that classic feel with a modern twist. And I'll touch on some of the aspects around the ship in just a second. But she is now sailing. This is a quick shot of some of those interiors. This is the similar stateroom to what I was just in, a veranda stateroom, spacious. Our rooms are 25% larger than all other premium cruise lines staterooms. But she is sailing. Those photos on the right there, I took those in Half Moon Cay, our private island, just a few days ago. But she's sailing. She'll be in the Caribbean this winter and then over to Europe. So if you're interested in sailing on a brand new Holland America ship, she is sailing in the Caribbean right now, all the way through to April. If you want to beat the winter, if you were a snowbird but you weren't able to do your snowbird thing for the last year or so, and if you're thinking about doing it now, what a way to do it on the Rotterdam. She's got some great itineraries. Speak with your Expedia Cruises consultant about that. Otherwise, she'll be in Europe in the summer, and we're going to touch on that in just a second. So I'm not going to talk about all of those itineraries that we cover. I mentioned there are so many, but what I will do right now is talk about some important itineraries that have either made a comeback or are brand new. We've got some classics that have returned, or itineraries that you need to know about. Even if you're a Holland America cruiser and you've cruised multiple times, there's a good chance you haven't seen some of these itineraries. So first off, I would like to say that with Europe, we occupy kind of a sweet spot because we have a DNA unlike any other cruise line. We have an authentic connection to Europe, a European heart and soul that goes back 150 years with roots and the relationships that are alive and well today. And by the same token, we've had a North America headquarters for about the last 40, 50 years. So what that allows us to do is deliver very authentic Europe cruises for the North American mindset. The menus, the announcements, programming on board. We're not one of those cruise lines that have ships in parts of the world that's only designated for that local market, their tastes or language or whatever it is. We have folks come and cruise with us who come from all over the world. But the programming is with the North American cruiser in mind. It's a bit like, and this is based on my experience cruising in Europe with Holland America, because we've been doing it for so long, it's a bit like if you ever go to see a family member or a friend who's moved to another city or perhaps country that you're not familiar with, but you go to visit them and they show you around and give you the inside track and show you around like a local. That's what it's like cruising with Holland America in Europe. So some really cool ports back on the agenda for 2022. I'm not going to run through all of them. Some of my favorites here on the screen. One that jumps out to me right away is Bruges, the port town being Zeebrugge. Bruges in Belgium. Oh, I love this town. Just the architecture, strolling those canals, the smell of the fresh Belgian chocolate, the moulin frites, the Belgian Trappist beers. Oh, it's just to die for. One of my favorite cities. There's so much to Northern Europe. It's one of those places that there's so much variety in such a kind of a condensed area. The fjords up to the Northern Isles and Iceland, the Blue Lagoon there. A great way to do it is on that new ship, Rotterdam. She is not just sticking to one cruise. She doesn't just start her debut season in Northern Europe and then do the same cruise over and over again. That's not what we do. Our new ships go on a rock star tour, hitting every itinerary with hitting a new port for the first time. So we have folks come from far and wide to be part of the magic. Mariners come to the new ship in the inaugural season in Europe time and time again. Folks who have heard stories from fellow guests at dinner will come and do it for the first time themselves. And this itinerary is wonderful because it's a little bit of everything. Iceland in depth. And Iceland is a very popular destination. Folks who fly there will probably pay as much or if not more than it would cost to take the entire cruise. So great value in this case. The Shetland Islands for those Neolithic remains, the Shetland ponies, Loch Ness from Invergordon. And if you take the sailing that sails within August, so this one, July 31, you can visit the Royal Military Tattoo in the grounds of Edinburgh Castle, which is only taking place during the month of August, during the Edinburgh Festival. It's our highest rated shore excursion with the pomp and ceremony and the lights under the fireworks under the grounds of Edinburgh Castle. Wow, that's a magical experience. And also the Norwegian fjords. So this is just a great cruise all on its own. But that will combine with other sailings like the fjords, relaxing. But just, if you've enjoyed scenic cruising in Alaska, you will love the fjords. And we're proud to be able to sail in parts of the Norwegian fjords where not all cruise lines or cruise ships are able to, thanks to the fact we meet those environmental requirements to sail there, which is fantastic to be able to contribute to. So we have longer sailings like this that combine, and then the Baltic. This is the classic part of the classic Northern Europe cruise that is a great place to start. If you haven't sailed Northern Europe, it's a little bit of everything. It's got that. It's a bit like the Mediterranean because it has port intensity, so it's very busy, but it's also relaxing and has that vibe at the same time. A mix of art, history, culture, language, culinary. And you get a little bit of everything. 2 days in St. Petersburg, so you can do the Church of the Spilt Blood, the Hermitage, St. Catherine's Palace, medieval Tallinn, beautiful Copenhagen. And these sailings, by the way, when I say they combine, what I mean by that is you can create something called a collector's voyage. That means your Expedia Cruises consultant can put them together for you. They have a trick they can do in their booking engine that allows them to put the cruise together, and you get a price break when this happens. It runs in the region between 5-10%, depending on the sailing. But when you put the two cruises together, maybe the fjords and the Baltic, or whatever it is, whichever sequence they come in, you put them together, you get twice the ports with a price break. So a great way to maximize your time. If you're going to fly over to Europe, what a way to do it. So you can do things like this as an example. You could combine our 150th anniversary homecoming, an exact facsimile of the original sailing 150 years earlier on the same ship, just 7 incarnations earlier. You could combine that with the Baltic that comes beforehand again, and you get that price break. So that's what we mean by a collector's voyage. Speak with your Expedia Cruises consultant. And we have a ship called Volendam. She's a smaller ship, and she's doing something all of her own. She's on her own mission. She's doing something called Voyages of Distinction in 22. She's doing longer sailings that each combine, and she doesn't repeat the same cruise twice. So we have folks will book her sailings and stay on for multiple sailings. And because she is that much smaller, it almost becomes a bit like a club atmosphere on board, a bit like a country club atmosphere. But she'll visit some fantastic places off the beaten track, cruise down the Gironde estuary in Bordeaux, so you can take in all those vineyards, that scenic cruising one, enjoying some Bordeaux, looking out from your veranda or on deck. She'll visit Dublin, which is the biggest city in the world. I'm sure you know that it is the biggest city in the world because it keeps Dublin and Dublin and Dublin. Okay, that's one of my best jokes done. If I get to another, we're on track. But these cruises around the British Isles are pretty special. There's some variations on there. Then take a close look because no two are the same when it comes to these British Isles and Ireland explorers, the British Isles explorers on Volendam. This one is sold out. I left this slide in just to let you know that it's sold out for 2022. It's our classic, Boston to Boston, 35 days over. It's called the Voyage of the Vikings. We do it every year. 35 days round trip. What an incredible itinerary. We've just opened it up for 2023. If you're looking to book Europe for 23, speak to your Expedia Cruises consultant. It's open. The itineraries are different. Some same, some different. Some ships are the same, some are different, but we have those 23 deployments open. You can lock that in now, and there's some great opportunities and offers for that as well. Down in the Mediterranean, wow, if you're watching this and you haven't had your dinner yet, I'm sorry if this is making your tummy rumble, because that's what the Mediterranean is all about. The smells, the taste, the colors. It is truly a feast for the senses. If there ever was a place, it is the Mediterranean. That's one of the reasons I love it. You can go back time and time again, revisit some favorite ports and places, some favorite mum and pop restaurants, whatever it is, pick up new ports. It is incredible. And there are some classic sailings we're bringing back that visit these places you can see here. Namely, one I want to mention, Istanbul. Istanbul hasn't been on the cruise map for about 10 years or so. We are now back in Istanbul. We've cruised there for decades and decades, but the cruise industry as a whole hasn't been able to go back. We now are. It's a city that takes on a whole new perspective by night as well as day, and we give you 2 days. We go into the Bosphorus, through the Dardanelles, we dock overnight, and it's the city where east meets west, straddles 2 continents. You can do short excursions to the Hagia Sophia, Blue Mosque, Topkapi Palace, the Kumkapi district. It's a magical place, and it's available on a number of sailings. We're doing a lot of these. Actually, it should say Oosterdam, not Westerdam. We switched out the ship. They're sister ships. It's actually Oosterdam doing these dates now. But so if you see Westerdam here, take that with a grain of salt. But we're visiting the Mediterranean with 7-day, 10-day, 12-day and combination sailings. These are some of those on the slightly longer side where we will visit places like the Holy Lands. But when it comes to Istanbul, these are the itineraries that I wanted to mention, because where we haven't offered Istanbul for a few years, we haven't been able to offer these sailings. But then some of my favorites and some of the most heavily booked. On the right-hand side, you have this round-trip Venice sailing that gives the beautiful Greek Isles and then that overnight stay in Istanbul, 2 days. It starts off with a 2-day stay in Venice. Also a little bit of the Istrian Peninsula, a little bit of Croatia there. And that sailing is fantastic in its own right, but it can be combined with this one on the left, which is the glitzy end of the Mediterranean, the French Riviera, the Italian Riviera, starts in Barcelona with 2 days in Venice. And when you combine them to make 24 days, you are getting essentially 3 days in Venice, 2 overnight stays in Venice. So that is just a wonderful way to see the Mediterranean. It looks like that when you put it all together. Look at that, what an itinerary. So speak to your Expedia Cruises consultant about that. And then, of course, that smaller ship again, remember Volendam, she does things a little bit differently right now. She will be the first of our fleet to go back to Egypt. We're visiting Cairo, Alexandria, the port for the Pyramids of Giza tour. So some fabulous opportunities to discover a bit more of the uncommon Mediterranean on Volendam. Okay, we're spinning the globe to Alaska. Alaska is a place that Holland America is known for. We are Alaska is our slogan. We've been known as the Alaska experts for many years. We win awards year after year. We've been taking folks not just to, on sea, but by land since 1947 to Alaska. And like I say, we pick up awards year after year. We are the tried and trusted experts. And a lot of that comes down to the itineraries themselves. It comes down to the programming with our park ranger service, hula speakers on board, the fact we offer Yukon as well as Denali when it comes to our cruise tour experience, and the fact we have ships based out of Vancouver and Seattle. Something you'll often hear us mention is the fact we spend more time in Glacier Bay because we have more permits in Glacier Bay. You might think, well, why do I need to know about a permit? What it means is essentially is we get twice as many permits as the next cruise operator. And that means we can offer more glacier viewing opportunities. So if you're on a cruise and the cruise line you're on is only spending an hour or two at a glacier and then back out into the Gulf of Alaska for the rest of the day, that's dollars per day that you're paying for, because we give you the full day, 7 hours plus, with multiple glacier viewing experiences and wildlife viewing experiences, all narrated, because we can. And there's so much more value in that, rather than just getting that quick whistle stop tour of one glacier, then back out just and in the open water for the day. It's a full day. If that was a port and you were only able to get an hour there as opposed to the full day, it's a clear choice which one you would take. And that applies in Alaska. And also it's the way we show you Alaska. It's the fact we have those open decks, the bows that we can open up, which is not common in the cruise industry. That open deck space, you don't have to fight for a space at the rail or look over the top of a go-kart track. It is unhurried, it's relaxing, there's space. That's why we win these awards year after year. And big news for 22, our ship called Koningsdam is arriving in Vancouver for the very first time. She has not sailed out of Vancouver or to Alaska before. And this is big news because she is sister to the ship I just showed you that has just started sailing, the Rotterdam, our new Pinnacle class ships. So if you're looking at that new Pinnacle class ship I showed you earlier, and that whet your appetite, but perhaps you're not thinking of traveling to Europe in 22, you'd like to do something closer to home, you can now sail closer to home on a Pinnacle class ship every Saturday to Alaska. It's not just a case of us bringing her in for a few dates. She's the regular Saturday ship. She can sail under the Lionsgate Bridge. Remember, she's not a mega ship, but she is truly beautiful. So one thing I will say about her, she is pound for pound, when you look at all of those ships that are sailing out of Vancouver across all the cruise lines, when you look at them all and you compare them, she is the most stunning, gorgeous ship compared to the others. You cannot compare her. Open, classic kind of spaces, entertainment that is incredible. Our wonderful world stage, which is almost like a amphitheater style show lounge. It's the best show lounge that you'll find on any ship sailing out of Vancouver next year across all cruise lines. We have areas on board that you may not even know about. Even if you follow Holland America, there's so many cool things we like to talk about. Sometimes we don't even get time to dig this deep. We have on the Koningsdam, on the Pinnacle class, our notes Scotch tasting. So if you have family members are traveling with you, or perhaps yourself, who enjoys their single malts and they know their grains, then Notes is a fabulous spot. We have probably the best, most immersive wine cellar on any ship sailing out of Vancouver across all cruise lines, the Pinnacle Grill wine cellar. You may know the Pinnacle Grill as our Pacific Northwest Chop House, which is a mariner's favorite. The wine cellar is incredible. Rudy's Salle de Mer, if you've cruised Holland America before, you may not have experienced this. It's our seafood brasserie. Our Lido market, our Lido area is unhurried. It's not chaos. The tables are dressed with cloth napkins, silverware, glassware, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It is open, fresh. It's still casual in every sense, but you don't feel like you're being herded into different lines. We haven't had self-service buffets for years, probably 10 years or more. So other cruise lines that are having to quickly make adjustments to fall within that kind of compliance, we've never had that issue. So it's not an issue for us to adjust in that respect. So we're prepared for it. It's just a wonderful ambience and lovely way to be able to grab a bite. And then I mentioned Music Walk earlier. Rolling Stone Rock Room is the other lounge the Pinnacle class have. Now, Rolling Stone Rock Room is that classic 60s, 70s, 80s rock. So think Eagles, The Who, Fleetwood Mac. You kind of get my drift in terms of the style of the music played. That classic pub rock. So you'll find that as another venue in addition to those others on Koningsdam. So it's all about music. It's like spending a week on Broadway or in the West End, where you've got all these different shows you can take in throughout the week and these different music venues. The Grand Dutch Cafe, which is an authentic Dutch kind of coffee shop, a second coffee shop that we have for Dutch treats, crepes, pastries, all served on rolled Delft earthenware, Dutch lagers, and the dining room, very open, fresh, and spacious. And when we sail these itineraries, we're not only sailing the inside passage, so you get that wonderful scenic cruising and calm waters of the inside passage. We're not only giving you that full day in Glacier Bay, we give you premium docking in places like Juneau. You're not docked out of the container ports or 20 minutes into town. We're docked in berths 1 and 2 when we're there. So you're literally steps into the square. So you're not taking up that extra time getting in and out of town. So many great reasons to sail with us to Alaska. If you're thinking, yeah, I'd like Alaska, but something a little bit longer, you can now cruise these. There are 2 dates only in September. One into Anchorage with Kodiak. The other more immersive on the glacier side. They're for folks who want to go for longer, but still conveniently round trip out of Vancouver. They are booking up very quickly. So speak with your Expedia Cruises consultant on those. And where we have these ships out of Alaska, so many ships out the same to Alaska from Seattle and Vancouver in the summer. That means through the winter and on the shoulder season, spring and fall, we are doing various, we have various deployments because we have the capacity, we have the ships there, we can do interesting things with them. So that gives you that creates opportunities for you to sail somewhere conveniently from the west coast, so sail convenient to somewhere you may not have been able to otherwise. And so all those ships are sailing in and out, as I mentioned, in the spring and the fall, and there are sailings like this down in the fall of 22 from Vancouver, but finishing in San Diego. Deep explorations of the South Pacific, the international date line, crossing the equator. This one in February 23 there. It's now actually on Koningsdam. We've switched the ship there. We have sailings out to Hawaii. These are booking up very quickly. Next spring, in the fall, and the following spring, round trip Vancouver on that new ship Koningsdam. Convenient, brand new ship, beautiful destination, time of year where you want to spend the extra few days in the sunshine, whether it be April or October. So yeah, you can see why these are so popular. And then things like this, repositioning cruises. I guess we don't even use that word, not really repositioning cruises. It's on the shoulder season where we take those ships out of the west coast down to the South Pacific. 2 cruises that can be combined to make 69 days. That one that it combines with, as well as the South Pacific, that Australia cruise, wow. Parts of Australia you wouldn't see any other way, even including Indonesia, the Great Barrier Reef, the Northern Territory is just truly bucket list territory. And you can cruise the Northern Pacific as well. In the spring and the fall, Westerdam is in and out of Seattle. And it's not just about these 14-day cruises, which are very fascinating in their own right, crossing the international date line, the Bering Sea. It's an interesting way to approach Alaska, but you can combine it with the first or last Japan cruise of the season. So that means if you're cruising back, you get the cherry blossom festivals, and you can do that as a 28-day combination as well. Speak with your Expedia Cruises team. They'll show you how it looks. And then, of course, the Panama Canal. We have lots of options which haven't been available for some time. So the Panama Canal, there's something for everyone, whether it's the beaches, the colonial architecture, the lush jungles, the going through the locks themselves, watching the ship rise 85 feet above sea level while you're standing on deck. That is something that it seems like a miracle, an engineering marvel. So you have to just experience that at least once. We see folks do it multiple times because there's so many different variations to this itinerary. You've got the ancient ruins again, the flora, the fauna, but the itineraries vary all the time. They're in the spring and the fall. So next spring and the following fall, the following spring, either to or from Vancouver through to Fort Lauderdale. And then just finally, if you were thinking when you saw that ship sailing out of Vancouver, that new ship, Koningsdam, but perhaps you were thinking subconsciously, I just want some sunshine. I know for you right now that winter's creeping in. You think, I just want sunshine throughout the winter months, including right now. You can fly down to San Diego and enjoy Koningsdam for 7 days down there in the Mexican Riviera. That's our winter home. So as we wrap up, I just want to tell you about an opportunity when you come to book with your Expedia Cruises consultant, and that is something we do now. It's instead of a promotion, it's more of a package that you can purchase. It's called Have It All, and what this does is essentially it adds shore excursion credits depending on the length of the cruise. It adds the beverage package. It adds complimentary dining nights depending on the length of the cruise, 1, 2, or 3, and the Wi-Fi package. It adds them all at 50% of what it would cost you to purchase them yourselves on board. Now, these are our most popular amenities. So you get them for 50% of the cost, and you just have them added to the cruise. You speak with your Expedia Cruise consultant. They can give you various different rates and promotions, but for a per person cost per day at half of what it would cost you to buy them on board, you can have them added. That's why we call it Have It All. So this is how it looks. Depending on the length of the cruise, that's what you get. So in addition to that, and do speak with your Expedia Cruises consultant about that. In addition to that, Holland America and the Expedia Cruises team in the Calgary area and also Red Deer, where your office is with your Expedia Cruises consultant, your Expedia Cruises center, where they're based, we have come together and arranged a special deal for the next 14 days through November 29th, and that is on just about 98% of all cruises you could possibly book, you'll receive shipboard credit. Runs up to $150 per stateroom. It depends on the length of the cruise, the type of room you're in, but you're going to wind up with extra shipboard credit. So speak with your Expedia Cruiser consultant about that, and they'll tell you where the best value is, the best offers. They have all sorts of things they can offer. Have It All, again, remember that package that you can add on some of those 2023 sailings that have just been released, Europe, or 2023 Alaska. You can, 2023 Canada, New England. You can, if you cruise Holland America before you're a mariner, you can receive extra shipboard credit, and you're able to, by working with Expedia Cruises, reap the benefits of their power, their network, because they work in volume. They have beds on all of our sailings and access to staterooms on all of our sailings, and that means they have an economy of scale that you don't. So you're going to get a better deal working through your Expedia Cruises consultant, your Expedia Cruises team, a better deal than you would booking with Holland America directly. And that's coming from me. I am Holland America, but you're going to get a better deal working through them because they have access to that volume. It's called Expedia Exclusive Stateroom Benefits. So that may be in the form of extra amenities, in some cases lower rates. They receive this from us and they pass it on to you. So that is just one of the great reasons to be working with them, because they have access to these deals. They're also experts in what they do, and they have access to these kind of benefits across all the cruise operators and cruise lines. But they have all the resources at their fingertips. They have the deals, they have the knowledge. But I think the most important reason to be booking with them is because we've seen, even in the best of times and the worst of times, that our plans can change. Travel plans can change pre or during. You might have a change of flight, whatever it is, or a change of itinerary. Who knows? And to have a real person, Expedia Cruises consultant, who is a real person in your community, who is a phone call or an email away, or even someone you can just drop by and see, that is priceless. You're not calling a call center hundreds of thousands of miles away. These are real folks who are experts, who are highly trained and have access to all the deals. So there's no better reason than that to be working with them. So if you have questions about anything you've heard me talk about today, please reach out to them. They, if they don't have the answers at their fingertips, they have me on speed dial, and I can certainly find out those answers for them. But thank you for spending some time listening and learning about Holland America. I hope you find a damn ship to sail on very soon. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I hope to connect with you very, very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.